Man, a lot to squeeze into one show. Ready, get, set. All right, let's get on with it. On today's show, it's another day of the KellyCo Valentine's Bouquet. We explore creative ways to demonstrate love to your family with Lucia Bellafante right off the top. Also today, the introduction of artificial intelligence will help many companies out there change the way they work or the way they deliver services. Financial planner Ryan Shin explains. And Jennie Bovard is here with her best and worst romantic stories. We have a bunch to share as well that have come our way. We're all about sharing, you know. Let's get to it.
This is Kelly & Company.
Well, today, as I said, real busy program, a lot of good conversation ahead. Ramya Muthan right over there. Nazreen Abdul-Majid. Nazreen later will talk to us about social media, some poll results because we've asked people questions, and everybody's getting all geared up for the work at hand, ladies, keeping really busy. It's nice on these Wednesdays, Thursdays show to just fly through like this because you sit back, say, oh, we got 56 minutes here. And it's always wonderful when we ask people to rise to the occasion, Ramya, such as the contributors.
Of course. You know, all we do is send out a memo saying, hey, we're having fun around Valentine's Day. And somehow, whether it's the eye rolling or the smiling or the swooning, is that what we called it in the promo? Anyway, people are dedicated to help us celebrate Valentine's Day. So I guess it's not as much of a, what do you call it, corporate holiday as we thought it was, you know? the love is in the air. Or maybe people are just so tired of feeling meh and want some reason to do something
I think
fun.
so. Well, and Nazreen, I think probably in the time you've been working with our show, you have noticed that we put an idea out there, this one being your idea for our audience, and of course the contributors, and you come back with a bunch of these ideas from the contributors. You say, geez, I never thought about that. How the heck do you associate that to what you bring to the show and fall under our category for the topic? It's impressive.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and it's also relatable to everybody. I mean, who doesn't have a bad dating story, for example? Everybody can relate to whether it's a positive love story or a negative love story. We've all been through it, and it's nice to hear some funny, awkward stories about those things. So it's, I feel like it's exciting. I'm excited for this.
And relatable. Everything is relatable. I kind of liked when we were speaking to Fern the other day, some of the things that we came up with during the discussion. And I have to say, in our first guest today, we'll be getting into some of that too and calling upon that. So it's really been amazing with how everyone has stepped forward. I think Nazreen and you have seen sort of this reflection like I have on social media as people get talking, and despite everything else going on, it's kind of a nice feel.
Yeah, it definitely is a nice feel. And plus, like, we know the kinds of things that we find entertaining. Like, Nisreen and I are always scrolling through social media or reading Reddit posts of people's, like, awkward moments and stories. And so it's just a platform for us to continue sharing.
Following down that rabbit hole, right? All right, let's get at it, ladies and gentlemen, because we've got so much, don't want to keep it from you. Follow us on Instagram and Twitter, if you would. As the ladies were mentioning social media, we have more for you on that a little later on. At Kelly & Co. AMI. That's at Kelly & Co. AMI on Twitter, Instagram. Love to hear from you. Nazreen handles a lot of our social media, so please feel free to interact.
Lucia Bellafante is here now, and she's here with creative ways to show love to ourselves and others. And most of that maybe your family members, really. But this is through food, activities, unique bonding experiences. I'm very curious, Lucia. So where do you want to begin?
So I thought we would begin with ourselves.
All right.
And you know, when you think of what they tell you when you're flying, that the first person that you should put the oxygen mask on is yourself. Mm-hmm. So I think to be a great parent or to be a healthy individual, it's really good to take care of yourself. So why not demonstrate love for yourself by taking time to explore either a new hobby, finding a new group that maybe you want to belong to, or even scheduling some time just to relax and have some fun.
Nice.
So
Simple.
what about the people that are funny about it and say, well, aren't you supposed to? I mean, your example there to me, the airplane, really makes you stop and think, because what help can you be to, your other family member if you're busy putting theirs on and you're, whatever it is, gagging for air or trying to get air. But it really is such a point. Have that whole healthy body, mind, whatever the things that you need to do when you have a problem, take care of yourself first, as opposed to what some would say, well, I'm sorry, I'd be looking after my partner, my children, my mother, my dad, whatever. What do you say to that?
Absolutely. Right. So it is important, because if you're constantly taking care of everyone else and everything else that has to be done, then eventually you will burn out. Right. We've all read about it. We've all heard about it. And so I'm not saying spend 4 hours on yourself, but even if it's just 10 minutes, right? At the end of the day, I mean, go ahead, spend 4 hours if you have it. That would be great. Listen, but, spend just a little bit of time. It can be absolutely anything. It could be extending your nighttime routine. We've talked about this before, routines, right? Relaxing routines just before bed with your kids. But how about you just spend a few extra minutes for yourself? Maybe it's while brushing your teeth, you put on some aromatherapy. It can be simple or it can be complex.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I love aromatherapy. Anything kind of that puts you in the vibe of meditation or just a calming atmosphere, right? That's the same way you're setting up the music, you're setting up the candles, all that stuff. But anything aromatherapy, just already, like you walk into someone's home and it smells kind of nice or soothing, even if it's just a gentle scent, it puts you in a calm state. I love it.
It does.
I find texture too. I remember how much just coming home when I was a kid, walking and feeling the carpet. They say, a study just came out, that we are at our happiest or most satisfied and stressless first thing in the morning. And yet people talk a lot about the wake up in the nighttime and start thinking about things and kind of stressing out. But interesting, a couple hours later when you wake up and ready to start your day, and some will say, well, nothing screwed up your day yet. Come on, give it at least 25 minutes or so. But it's very interesting how many of us probably don't even realize that first time of the day could be really important. And maybe some of the things that start making our day get worse, we need to stop doing, Lucia, and that. But that's when everybody gets excited the most about that nice morning breakfast and stuff with the family.
That's true. Sorry. Yes, absolutely. So morning time, did you know that morning is actually when you're just waking up? If you don't need to get up and use the bathroom, or if you do, quickly use it and then have a short meditation or do what some people call a mental rehearsal or visualization. It's the best time to utilize that to prepare yourself for the day. Another thing is, if you're thinking parent and children, it's also a beautiful time, just before you begin. And again, I'm not talking about hours, even if it's just one moment, collect your children or your family and share what you love about the other person. That would be a nice time to do that while you're having breakfast or preparing it, or just even before. Depending on your family and how everyone's routine is. But just that moment to say, you know what, I really love you and appreciate you. I liked yesterday when you helped your sibling, or I really appreciated when you took out all of the fruit for me and washed it. Like, share something positive about the other person with the other person first thing in the morning. Wouldn't that be a lovely way to start your day?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, it really would.
It'll definitely make a difference, yes.
And easy.
Yeah, it is. It's easy. There's nothing expensive about it. You don't need anything elaborate. I mean, these are ideas that you can make as elaborate, as outlandish as you want, or as simple and time-saving as you want. It's just to get that creative brain working.
And as big, right? Because, I mean, maybe on a Saturday morning, we always hear about some of the families. That's when we had the big family sit-down dinner, or breakfast. But maybe on Wednesdays, somebody's out to practice or doing something bright and early. So maybe have those just a few minutes, like you say. It doesn't take long. And that could make a world of difference on someone's day, morning, whatever you want to say.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
I mean, we're talking about Valentine's and love and caring
Yeah.
and compassion, but really, I like the idea, Ramya. You had mentioned that it's not just a corporate or a way for people to make money. Valentine's Day, right? The idea that everyone's kind of getting into this, and I think it's because special occasions are a nice reminder of what can be important in our lives.
Sure.
And so this is the same thing. It's not about going out and buying that expensive gift or going out and having that expensive dinner, but it's about remembering why you care and love the people that are in your life. And that can be anyone, children included, of course. A lot of times parents might say to their child, I love you, but it's really nice to add a qualifier to that. I love you because you're kind. I love you because you make me smile. I love you because you help when someone needs help. I think that's positive, whether you're saying that to your partner, a friend, and those are inexpensive. They're free. It's just sharing your thoughts.
And they don't
Extra
have to be
kind of
gigantic.
gestures, I guess, is really what it is. And honestly, like Nisreen was talking about just the novelty, right? Like the other day when we were chatting, the novelty of Valentine's Day. Yeah, the chocolates, the flowers, the surprises, the big gestures. But that type of novelty is exciting, whether it's your sibling or your friendships or your parents, whatever, right? Like these relationships. And so to kind of carry that idea of novelty through the year is what I think these kinds of suggestions give you to like still to bring that novelty, but to do it in different ways throughout the year, sprinkle it and not have to, I don't know, just live in the monotony of whatever your dynamic is.
Absolutely. Is not just for one day of the year. No. I mean, and you can't, it might seem inconceivable to do it every day. So then why not think for yourself, all right, and it's okay to have to schedule something until it becomes a really nice habit. So why not say to yourself every Wednesday, like Kelly said, Wednesday could be the day. Choose a day that works for you, a day that is most relaxing and not as stressful or busy, and choose that as the day, as your reminder. And then implement that. And then when that becomes habit and routine and is easy to do, maybe you can add something else on a different day. And again, we're not talking about things that are costly. We're not talking about things that will take up hours of your time.
Exactly.
So all year long, we feel loved and appreciated.
Exactly. Any other particular suggestions you want to bring to us? Share? Okay.
So absolutely. How about, this might be silly, but I know I recently, I do try to do this every so often, and people really appreciate it. Sending a little note or a card or a short letter or a long letter, even snail mail, right?
Aww.
Having someone receive something. Yes.
And why do you think, Lucia, it's kind of, it's a surprise. It's coming in the mail. But is there something else? Is it when some people get all bothered about, well, it's a gift certificate, you didn't put any thought into this gift, when people get kind of funny about stuff like that, is it that you wrote this with your hands? It's sort of like, you built this, or you carved this, or you this ceramic, you made it, and it's so unique. Does it kind of come under that same category, you think?
I really think so. I think it's the unexpectedness of it. Because in today's society, everything is technology, so it's unexpected. I think it's tactile, right? You can hold on to it and feel it. It's like feeling that person giving you a hug. And then Ramya mentioned you like scents, so you can spray a scent, like whether it's a perfume that the other person likes, or put some scented oil on the card. It's tactile. It's just a reminder, a tactile, a real reminder that someone is thinking of you and cares for you.
Yeah.
It's the effort. It's really
exactly.
I think so. Excellent. Yes.
That's what I'm thinking.
Effort.
It really is special because they took the time. Sitting there typing something is a lot quicker than writing it out, and it's also unique again because that's their signature. If you're a Braille user, Braille it out. If you whatever it is, taking that extra time, it also just seems to make you think more.
Yeah.
and the person
I
receiving
like that.
knows it.
You've slowed
Yes.
down and somebody
Yes.
knows. Hmm.
Because you've
Taking
not
time.
thought of that person for that instant, like sending them an email, which is still good, right? We don't want to not
Or
do that. We can
dictating a
still do
text,
that.
right? Like
That's
that's not
Right,
the
or
same.
dictating a text. But you've actually taken the time to either braille something out on a piece of paper and then get the envelope, get the stamp, go to the post office. There are a lot of steps that are involved, which means it's your time. And your time shows that you've taken the effort and you've gone out of your way for that person.
Yeah.
And so they're
ChatGPT,
meaningful
could
to
you write a note too and just go that way, right? Yeah, I
ChatGPT,
sat
can
down
you
and
snail
thought.
mail this for me? Yeah.
That's right. I had to put every thought in it that it would have to be and print it out. And aren't I nice?
Yeah.
Anything else,
too,
Lucia? When we sorry, Ram.
in this sentiment, I
Sorry.
just wanted to say that, like,
Yes.
nowadays you're one of many. Like, we have, 5,000
Yes.
emails that we're responding to every day. You're on
Yeah.
dating apps and talking to 17 different prospects. Like, there's
Yeah.
just so many of everything. And, like, we don't really feel that same kind of, I don't know, like,
Special and
specialness.
connected.
Right,
Yeah.
exactly. Yeah, as we used to. So this kind of thing definitely, puts you in that category of like, wow, somebody thought of me to do this, or I am thinking of this person and I want them to know in
Yeah.
this very specific way. Cool.
Mhm.
What else?
One of the things I liked when I was a kid is that day that suddenly my father would show up. And I remember when I was in grade 2, and right next door to us was a A&W, but the old drive-through ones, Lucia, that
Oh,
they used to have.
yes.
And my dad would stop, pick me up, and just go there for, good grief, it's like 30 minutes over lunch.
Yes.
And it was so, like you said, random, just out of, it was nice. And it was, as my parents used to say, that little bit of time that I can steal individually for my children, so that all of us felt at some point, this is my time, and how good that felt.
Yes.
And it's just something little like that. I'm assuming whether you're an adult, whether you have a partner, whether you're stopping by work to go out for lunch with your sibling or whatever it might be, or mom or dad, even if you brought
Yeah.
something in and sat around because their schedule's full, sitting at their desk at work, nice thing, kind of small too, or
Absolutely.
potentially.
Yes. Yeah, I think so. So you could, absolutely. I love that idea. I used to do that with my kids when I could, right? Surprise them over lunch and either
Yeah.
bring them a little treat or take them out for lunch at lunchtime at school. And it was really an extra special treat, like you said. And you could do that for friends as well. You could do that for friends, family members, anyone you care
Yeah.
about, whether it's going to their work or maybe you can surprise them at home with a prepared meal. It doesn't have to be elaborate. It can be if you want it to be. Maybe you're going to bake a cake and bring it to them, or drop off some flowers or something that you know they need. It can be a book. It can be absolutely anything that you think of, and you unexpectedly bring it to that person. How special would they feel?
That's sweet. That's sweet.
Yeah.
Especially if it's something that they love or something homemade that
Yes.
you like, they love you making for them. That's so sweet.
Yes. And as much as possible, think of the other person, right? Think of what the other person likes, what the other person would appreciate. Absolutely, you want to match it with your skill set. But sometimes, I learned an invaluable lesson once when I stopped on the road to give a homeless person something. And he wouldn't take it. I really was so upset that he wouldn't take the money. And in the end, I realized that sometimes what we want to give doesn't match what the other person wants to receive. And so
Yes,
we have
true.
to be respectful of that as well.
Isn't that the lesson of life, Lucia?
Yes. Huh? Oh, that was
Respectful.
big.
And what's that other word that
That's
floats
a
around?
huge
Lucia?
one.
Tolerant of other people.
Yes.
What do you mean you don't like this?
Oh my.
Who cares what
Yeah.
you want?
That is a
Right.
big lesson to understand.
It is.
Yeah.
We could talk for hours just about that.
Totally.
Yeah. I love it.
Cool.
So,
Mhm.
Oh, I was going to say, so we've had a lot of ideas, and as you could tell, they don't take a lot of time, they don't cost a lot of money. But from our
No.
reactions, we all know that if anyone did any of those things for us, we'd feel loved, right?
Absolutely.
That's the
Absolutely.
key.
And And if you're, just wondering about how to show someone you love them, or even just thinking of Valentine's Day plans, honestly, all of these are great. Thank you so much.
Oh, you're very welcome. This was fun. Happy Valentine's Day, all of you.
You too, and chat with you in March. Lucia Bellafante joining us once a month. She's our parenting segment. She always comes up with creative ideas to bring the conversation, together.
Speaking of creative ideas, ladies, Brock Richardson, who will be actually co-hosting with me on the program Friday, this is something he dropped to us. He was really enjoying the conversation we had Monday with Fern Lulham about what love is. It reminded him of something his wife saw several years ago and brought to the household. It's called the Just Because bucket. So the idea of what this physical bucket does, like you go back and forth taking turns. You set the bucket down, you go back and forth, and you put things in it, but you take turns doing this. There's no specific dollar amount of what you put in it. There's no timeline associated with it. You could do it once a month or once every 3 months. It's just simply to let the other person know you thought of them and love them. Brock says he received everything from chocolates, sports memorabilia. I'm surprised at that. Really? Who wants that? Gift cards. Hey, I mentioned that a while ago. Date night money. And of course, this is Brock's 2 cents on love. Thoughts on this, Niz?
So sweet.
It's so sweet. I love that idea. It's so creative. I never thought of that idea, so it's nice.
It doesn't
I
sound
do have some
forced
logistical
either.
questions. Like, is it the same bucket that you're both sharing back and forth? So can you
Yes.
see what you got to
Yeah.
the other person as well as
Oh,
them
yeah.
for you? Okay.
Yeah, because the idea is you
Now-
get something and they walk over, look down, and say, "Hey, that's nice.
Yeah.
Is that for me?" "Well, you didn't buy it, did you?" "Well, no." "Okay, it's for you."
Yeah.
I think it could be really exciting and a special moment to finally, trade off the gifts. It could be something small and it could be something big, and you just never
Oh.
know.
It could be savage too.
You would
Like,
never
what if you
know.
get
Like, the
something
gift
for the other
certificate could
person
be-
and then they haven't used it all year, so you're getting the idea that like they didn't love it, so now they
Oh.
have to like re-gift it to somebody else.
Or if you leave it in
Gotta
there,
be
is there like an
negative about it,
exchange
Remy.
time? Like, okay, you've left it 30 days. I got to take this back to the store. Obviously, you don't want it.
Oh yeah. Oh right. Like, what if you want a gift receipt for some of the things that your partner bought you?
Okay, come on.
Then
you gotta know
I'm
the
just
cost of
talking
it,
about
Nez.
all the
Maybe you're just
logistics.
picky, Ramya.
Like,
So note to
they got
self,
you tickets,
the bucket
right,
idea
to
is
go
not
see
for
a hockey
Rams.
game. Hey, we heard Lucia. She said you got to think about what the other person wants to receive. So, like, if my
And-
partner got me tickets to go see a hockey game, I'm like, this is kind of a gift for you, though, isn't it? You know,
And they would
true.
probably, because they're your partner, be so honest and say, "That's right. Are you coming or not?"
yeah, but I want to go with you. Yeah. Yeah. Jim's waiting
might
in the
take your
sidelines.
friend.
He's waiting.
Yeah, or is Fred coming with me? Awesome, ladies. Thanks,
exactly.
Brock, for sending that in. We're going to hear from Brock, another message from him later on in the program. Email us, KellyCo@ami.ca. Always love to hear from you. And, of course, you can call us and leave us a message, 1-866-509-4545. The introduction of artificial intelligence will help many companies out there change the way they work and or the way that they deliver service. Let us see if Ryan Chin from Sun Life Financial can help to shed some light on this particular subject and how we might, this might impact the way that we do our investing out there. Ryan, welcome back to the show. Now, interestingly enough, your timing is fantastic, as usual, but last week the media was abuzz about DeepSeek. What is the buzz about this? What's it all about?
Hey, very much. Thank you so much, Cal. Certainly, lots to unpack there. But just before I get started, I don't want to miss out. I mean, I know I'm going to come in with a very heavy topic and talk about finances and money. But Kelly, just so you know, I love you because you make me laugh.
Hey,
Aww.
that's an awesome thing to hear. I love that, my friend. Thank
There you go.
Thank you
And-
kindly.
Wow.
And
And
Ramya,
Ryan?
Oof.
Oh, sorry.
sorry,
Go
one second.
ahead.
I got three of you now to go through.
Uh-huh.
Ramya, I love you because you you know how to cut through and just get right to the point. That's wonderful.
Cut through the BS. Okay, thank you. That is
There you go.
very
And Nazreen,
poignant.
I'm gonna learn to love you because I've got to listen a little bit more to find out
I'm gonna learn to
what
love
your
you.
I don't
niche
know you,
is.
but I'm sure I'll love you, Nisreen.
I'm gonna have to work at it, Nisreen, but I'm sure I'll find
Wow.
something.
I'm gonna find
You're-
something.
you're
I'm
here
sure.
as
That
well.
hit
That's
right
what
in
he's
the
saying.
That hit right in the
Unbelievable.
heart.
Nisreen,
should've
throw
just
him
went
right
with
back at,
finance,
hey,
man.
Ryan, I love you for your straight honesty and straight from the
Yeah.
heart.
I love you for your honesty.
Thanks for trying,
There you go.
Ryan.
All right.
And Ryan,
It's all about the
Ryan,
effort. A for effort.
Fedora's off to you, buddy.
Yeah. Kelly, we so many times we get mistaken for the same person, but I appreciate that.
Okay.
So let's dive in. Let's jump into DeepSeek. So the reality is, about a week ago, DeepSeek came out with an announcement around some technology to challenge I'll say the internet landscape. Marketing, sorry, technology is leading and has been for the last couple years, leading investments. We've all heard of, the Magnificent Seven and the leading companies. We all know NVIDIA has been generating lots and lots of money over the last number of years. And some of the major technology companies have really been driving their productivity through the development of AI. And just before I go too much further, I just want to let you know, at no point today am I endorsing any particular stock or security. I'm going to be referencing some companies and so we know that, the technology companies have been leading the markets for the last number of years. The interesting fact is by the introduction of AI technology, that is increasing productivity. It's allowing companies to grow using this artificial intelligence and really helping to bolster them along. Now, with DeepSeek, they've introduced a way that smaller companies with maybe not as much money can utilize a similar style of AI technology, artificial intelligence, to grow their opportunity and their efficiency and increase their productivity. And wow, it rocked. It shook the bedrock of the markets over the last week or so.
So I'm curious because we had Trump in the making, the big announcements just before, it was like the day before, and all of that. What did the markets look like with all of that going on at that time? There must have been seesaw.
Well, funny enough, since the announcement of President Trump being elected, the markets actually went north. Like everything has just been going up. They call it the Trump trade, and if you get on the Trump trade, you're gonna win. Before the DeepSeek announcement, the S&P were hitting all-time highs, record highs. So, as a matter of fact, they weren't seeing too much seesaw, but here it comes.
Okay.
Yeah. I just wondered because we hear so much about the others, how much ChatGPT, the resources, and then out this comes. And I know that there had been the discussion that the U.S. has got to get behind this and all partners there. So that's where I kind of wondered, Ryan. Okay, where do you want to go from here, sir? What's next?
Well, let's talk. If you want to talk about that, we can blow that out a little bit because, as you say, with ChatGPT, it is essentially a competitor of DeepSeek. DeepSeek is just coming out with a model, artificial intelligence, what they call generative AI model, that is supposed to run similar style programs, just more efficiently and cheaper. Let me tell you about so ChatGPT. It offers a model whereby if you ask it a question, it's going to run a number of sequences to get to an end result. It's kind of like saying, hey, I need to go to that A&W restaurant that's next door. And in order for me to get there, I need to stand up, walk down the hall, or sorry, stand up, go out my front door, walk down the hall, take the elevator down, and so forth, and all the steps to get to that A&W restaurant. However, what DeepSeek has figured out is we can get to that A&W if we jump out the window. So what it is, it essentially shows the technology world and all of the architects and computer programmers who are working on all of the software. There is another way, which is an incredible, incredible sort of, I'll say it shakes the bedrock, but it is an incredible breakthrough to show we don't have to just do it one singular way. There are other ways, and maybe those ways are cheaper.
It's interesting because OpenAI's ChatGPT has been around the longest. Well, I'm saying more anecdotally, right? Like publicly, the availability, what we use it for, it feels like the default for any of these comparisons.
Because of its pioneering, right?
Yeah, and just because of the availability of everything that it offers the general public. Like we know that there are other comparisons we can rope into this, but we're always going to go back to OpenAI. But the arguments around why invest or what the investment and the money part is going to come back around to the everyday person, Ryan. Like, should we be worried about that? Like, there are the conversations that the big guns are having up top, right, on how to make AI this or that or cheaper or better, etc., and how much we need to use. But then what about the everyday person?
And Ramya,
and Ramya, I love that because, as Ryan said, you're shaken by the fact that here comes a breakthrough. So if someone is thinking of, I want to invest in this, I got to get behind this when I can. Voila! Oh, what's that? And how does that affect it, Ryan?
Yeah, and you're both correct in many ways. So here's the thing, Ramya, you've underscored, and this is why I love you, Ramya. You know how to cut right through. And that's the key, right? So we know that, the Magnificent Seven, as I mentioned before, these are large companies with big balance sheets, and they've got lots of money to make those large investments in, whether it be NVIDIA chips, and NVIDIA has been the company that's been providing the chips for all of this, that all of this AI and open source has been built on. But these large companies have all of that money to do it. Well, smaller companies, mid-size, smaller companies don't have, hundreds of millions of dollars to build these AI centers and all of the storage data centers that they need and all these things. So here comes an upstart technology that's offering a similar solution, cheaper. So it's now putting the keys in the hands of some of the smaller companies to actually introduce AI into their particular processes. So to your point, Kelly, have we missed the boat? By no means. There are lots of investment opportunities out there. What it does is it simply broadens, it allows to broaden the market. So rather than just 7 companies who happen to have big balance sheets and can spend all this money and build up their ability to produce very efficient systems. Well, now, if it can be done cheaper, other companies have the ability to step up and add that, introduce AI into their models, and wherein grow their ability to do a similar process.
So what's your warning?
I'm not sure if this is going to tie in back for finances, but I'm curious, like this is a very, very, very competitive market, just like with everything else. But with AI, it's so front and center how competitive it is from company to company, from dollars available to dollars spent. Is there collaboration? Like, are you finding that means and companies and ideas are being shared more than they're being gate kept?
Yeah, so I
stolen.
mean, you're getting into something a little outside of our scope or my scope particular, but I can say open AI. I mean, the whole concept of open AI is a collaboration
Yes.
platform. It's where folks from anywhere can add their code in and help and learn and share and so forth.
It's open source.
Whereas a
Yeah.
company like
Mhm.
DeepSeek, they're not open
Yeah.
source.
Yeah.
They're a
Mhm.
company out of China who claim to have designed and built this software program, off of some older chip technology and whatnot. I mean, they're still trying to work out whether or not they used older technology, they used newer technology. There's still some gray area there, but I think in essence, I think just the evolution of the fact that there is another way gives open source architects the opportunity to say, hey, we can maybe introduce this as well. Let's look at other options. Let's explore other opportunities and see how we can make this solution cheaper for all companies. Because essentially that's what it's going to be. I mean, we have to
Right.
remember, I mean, Kel, you made the joke about, ChatGPT mailing a letter for you. I mean, we know that can happen now, and
Yeah.
it's about having these artificial intelligence software programs do some of the more simple tasks that we have to do every day, but do it for us.
Yeah. Have it work. Ryan, thanks as usual.
Hey, thank you both. Thank you all. I really appreciate it. And, of course, next time we'll talk about that little thing called tariffs that got introduced earlier
Oh.
this week.
Oh.
Why
Do
not?
they make you money or not? Hey, a little pain for the gain. Thanks, pal.
Thanks. Take care.
Or in some cases, a lot. Reach Ryan directly at Sun Life to talk more about financial planning. You can send an email to ryan.chin@sunlife.com. Nazreen, Kelly here as we walk our way through the program. And Nazreen, before we move along to our next conversation, can you touch base for us on a little social media? What do we got going on?
Yes. So yesterday we threw a Twitter poll question at you guys asking you what's the worst thing that's happened to you on a date. And the options were awkward silences, they brought a friend, I was catfished, they ghosted me halfway. I was so surprised we didn't get anybody saying I was catfished because I've been through that, by the way. But we'll get to it later.
That is intense.
But 67% of you guys said awkward silences. That is the worst. I hate that. And then 33% of you said they brought a friend. That is awkward as
They
well.
brought
So
a friend? I thought that
they
was just there
brought
because
a
we needed
friend.
another option. I can't believe that's real. Oh
Yeah.
my.
Is it
Yeah,
worse to
that's
bring a friend on a
unfortunate.
date like that, a first date, or to your job
Maybe
interview?
they mistake it
Which
for a
one's
friend
worse?
date.
Bringing
People
a
are
friend
really
to a
looking
job
to get-
interview or your first date?
who brings a friend to a
What?
job interview?
That's a thing
I've
too.
heard of it. I've heard of it.
Do they
Or
get
their mom.
hired?
Or their dad.
Does it help?
No. I know this
Sorry, I
Reed
needed
thinking,
some extra
when I leave
supervision
AMI,
and some
let me-
chaperoning at this interview.
Oh,
feel
you're
like
being
Yeah.
chaperoned,
I'm so
employer.
sorry.
My father's checking out the circumstance. Yeah, really cool. Niz, anything else on social media? Any responses? Anything else we should get into before we move along?
Well, we'll get to the responses after, but first, Low Vision Moments meets romance. Let's get to some of the funny, awkward, and adorable ways Jennie Bovard has been navigating love affairs. Welcome, Jennie. We're so excited for the segment.
Oh, I'm so excited to be here and brag about my love.
Well,
Make you all
Awkward,
sick.
apparently.
Now, don't fall off
I'm
that
saying-
ego. Or is
I
it
know you
confidence?
have so many stories for us, but first we asked our listeners, because we want your opinion on this. We asked our listeners to send us your dating horror stories, and we got a few responses. But first, we got one from Brock Richardson saying, when I met my wife, I told her everything there was to know about me, except for one thing that I don't normally think about because I don't have it. I did not tell her that I did not have peripheral vision, so I couldn't see her on the one side of me, and she was walking beside me, and because I couldn't see her, I basically ran her off the sidewalk into a bush on our first date. We laughed and still laugh about it that now. We still laugh about it now when I told her on that day, well, I don't have peripheral vision. She said, why didn't you tell me? I would have done things better. But yeah, it was pretty funny. That's
relatable. Jumped on his wheelchair and just stayed on his
sport.
She would have just stayed on his, jumped on the back of his wheelchair and said, okay, then I'll play it safe and stay back here. Wow.
Oh,
Jenny,
God.
as a runner, have you ever had any of that kind of thing happen?
I think that's such a perfect example of like a story that you don't think is going to be a romantic, charming story in the moment because you're trying to fly under the radar and just go with the flow. And then that stuff happens. And that's a lot of what I experience with my partner, right? Like in the moment, this is embarrassing. And this is probably the worst thing that could happen when you're trying to be cute and whatever. And and then it turns into a sweet little story.
Yeah, if you're still together later,
Happy
or
ending.
you know, have somebody else to share it with, I guess.
We actually got another response from Mrs. Beer Baron. I'd like to share that. So she said, "This may not be considered a horror story, but I'm telling you anyways because it was horrifying to me. I met a guy online and we chatted for almost a month before we actually went on our first date. We hit it off immediately and had a lot in common. We laughed a lot and the whole date went really well until the end of the night. You know that end of the night when it's a bit awkward, for some at least, and you're waiting for that end of the night kiss or sort of goodbye. And I was sitting in the passenger seat in front of my car and we both kind of awkwardly leaned in and we went the same way. So it was going to be a miss. It's kind of hard to explain. But anyways, we both paused and tried to adjust our positions. And he panicked and went, and grabbed me around the neck like I was his little brother and says, come here, you, and proceeds to noogie me. He gave me a noogie. Not for long. It hurt slightly and my hair ended up a freaking mess. He let go. I stared blankly in front of the car and he laughed awkwardly. I laughed awkwardly and got out of the car. Neither of us ever spoke to each other ever again.
Got out
that's
quickly,
I'm the opposite of what Jenny was describing as like a cute story to share later. This is like, no, only anonymously online. Jenny, but you and your husband have known each other for a very long time though. Like, did you guys date for a bit before you got married?
We did. We met in high school and we kind of dated in high school, and I have no idea why he was interested in me. I was incredibly annoying to him, but he found it endearing. I used to sit behind him in media studies of all things, and
nice.
There's a bit of a long story there. He moved away and broke my heart and made me cry, and then we reunited a little bit later on. But we have known each other for a really long time. And just to go back a little bit, I have run him off the road and sidewalks so many times because I really don't have peripheral vision either, especially when it's bright out. I'm forever like pushing him off the sidewalk and into traffic. But he's, you know, he is so good at striking the balance between, let's acknowledge that this person I love can't see very well, can't see certain things, and you know, that it's not a huge deal. Like, let's acknowledge that it's there, but maybe we can laugh about some of these things along the way. And I think one of the ways I knew that he was the one, that he was a keeper, was that not too long after we moved in together, I started having these low vision moments. Once you move in with someone, you can't fly under the radar. There's no. There's no cute excuse anymore. It's out in the open. So we're walking down a residential street in Vancouver one day. This is where we were living at the time. And I have always been an animal lover. So I point out to him across the street what I think is, oh, look at that fluffy dog. How cute, across the street.
Aww.
And he wasted no time, guys. Wasted zero time telling me that in fact was not a fluffy dog. That was, I've told this story before, but it was in fact autumn. It was fall, and a lot of the leaves had fallen from the trees and they started to die off. This was not a fluffy dog, my friends. This was a very dead bush. Just a bush.
My gosh.
in my mind,
So relatable.
we fill in the blanks, right? So we're on this cute little walk, just moved in together, setting up our lives. And there it is out in the open. But we were able to have a good laugh about it. And again, it's kind of that balance of like, okay, like tell her what's really going on, but like not a huge deal. Let's also have a laugh.
Be gentle, as opposed to you chasing tumbleweed if you were in Arizona.
My friend and I have many moments like this, not romantic, but I guess bromantic-ish, cismantic. Anyway, because we used to take walks when we lived in the same building around a specific area all the time. And then one time when we were walking, she's like, and there's that Tim Hortons. Both of us are low vision, by the way, just full disclosure. And she's like, and there's that Tim Hortons we used to go to when we used to hang out in this area before we moved together. And then a sighted person who was there that day, who's never around before that, goes, that used to be a Tim Hortons, not anymore. Now it's just a building. There's no sign. And then we're just like, awkward.
It's a good thing you didn't go in and start ordering donuts. Yeah,
exactly, because her and I could fool each other about pointing out whatever the heck we wanted, because we both can't verify.
Closed down donut shop. Now it's a shooting gallery. Oh.
Now it's no longer Timmy's, but that's why sighted people can't have them around all the time.
I have to tell you guys something else. Yeah. What's that?
I was going to say, it's so important to have that ability to communicate like you two do, but mostly to laugh about it, but also it sounds like he tries so hard to understand, because how do you explain to someone what you see?
Well, I think that the underlying theme here is awkward. I think everything we've discussed so far, there's been the twinge of awkward or embarrassing. And that's just life. Like, it's so natural to feel that stuff in the moment. And that's why I started talking about this stuff more freely later in life. And up until a certain point in life, it just wasn't something that I did. And I'll tell you something, my husband, my partner, Eve, you're handsome, you're beautiful, you're so good looking, but he is not very physically distinguished. Like, he's not easy to distinguish. He's not a distinguished looking individual. He kind of looks like a lot of other people, is what I'm trying to say. He's not easy to find out in public. And I don't know if this happens to you guys, but I get a little overconfident sometimes. And I'm like, I know what I'm doing. I know where I'm going. I remember one time we went to a concert. We've been together a long time, but we still do what I would call dates quite a lot. We like to go out and see shows. And so we were out at a concert. We had parted ways for whatever reason. And I'm like, okay, I know what he's wearing. He's a tall guy. I'll find him. It's good. And usually he's pretty good at, finding me and giving me the old whistle. I know it's him. But I was so confident that this guy was him. He had the same color jacket on, green jacket, tall guy, concert full of people. That's definitely him. I go up to this man. I put my arm around his waist like I owned him. I was like, come here, sweetheart.
No. Oh my gosh, it wasn't just like a tap on the arm.
I nestled right in.
It wasn't just a grab.
He didn't care.
Like grab. No.
Oh no, not subtle. This man didn't seem to care, and but I immediately knew the smell was wrong, the feel was wrong, and I backed up and I told. We weren't married yet, but I told him right away.
The sniff test never lies.
No, I can relate to that. One time I had a date and my date texted me saying he was outside. So I was like, okay, bet. There were 2 cars outside. I went into
I know where this is going.
that I thought it was right in front of my house. So I went into the car and I see 2 people making out and I was like, oh my goodness.
Yeah,
that is not the car.
My date brought a date.
Hopefully not the car.
No,
it was not the car. But it was so embarrassing because he didn't know that I had like low vision. So
right.
Like, yep, just walked into the wrong car, same color, whatever. No. He's like, why didn't you just look at the license plate? I'm like, yeah,
wow, helpful suggestion.
I would have been on my knees behind every car, but he didn't know. But like you said, Jenny, that comes part of like what Niz is saying. How long can you get away just kind of being? You guys are in that position where you have enough vision where, I don't need to mention that. Yeah, it's not really a big deal for me. So why would I make a big deal out of it? And then something like that happens. I mean, Nisreen's first date, okay, but yeah, even just a person thinking you can see more than maybe you can.
Well, that's the it can work both ways, right? Like you can
Yeah,
disclose, but then it's still confusing for people if you have low
it
vision.
is because they
And then
can't
also you
understand.
don't disclose because you think you've got it covered, right? Like I've definitely had, not necessarily for romantic reasons, but put myself in situations where like I've got it covered. I know where the bar is, I know where the washroom is, I know where my seat is. Okay, the lighting is perfect over here, so this is where I'm going to situate. I'm going to face this way, like, body language. I got this covered. And I think I've literally, put myself in a very successful position, and just like missed them, handing me a drink and then knocked it over. Right? So stuff like that where you just like the awkwardness or potentially even missing advances from people because you can't see them smiling at you, so you're just giving them back stink face the whole time. Or you know what I
I've
mean? Like
said
they're
so
probably
many times that I've probably missed
yeah.
out on so many romantic opportunities in my life because
Yeah.
of apparently people do this thing where they glance at each other from across the room.
Right.
Like, what is
Right. And then like
that?
shyly smile. What is that? I only know about that in books.
What about the
Exactly. I
what
only
about
read
the
about these
expressions on
things.
your what about the expressions on your face you have no idea you're doing? Oh,
Oh,
I didn't think you were having a good time. You kind of had that sour look.
Kelly, that's part of how I knew Eve, my husband, was the one. When we really early on, still in high school, we were walking down the street. It was super bright. He's like, "You're so beautiful, and you'd be even more beautiful if you didn't squint so much." I was like, "Damn, I'm squinting." See, I didn't know.
No,
I
no.
didn't know to be conscious of those things, and it didn't make me self conscious about it. It just made me aware that like, oh, maybe I'll put a hat on next time, and I won't be squinting as much. But nobody understands what I can see better than my husband, and that's really one of the huge benefits I think of having a long term loving partner. And he points things out to me in the world that I wouldn't know that I'm missing, and it's so meaningful. And sometimes it's just fun. We went to see ZZ Top, and guys, I did not know they had fuzzy guitars. They
Oh,
play furry, fuzzy guitars. And he
wow.
told me, take out your monocular, take out your magnifier. These guys are playing fuzzy guitars and they're doing these wild dance moves with their hands. And I'm like, what? But he'll also take photos of like interesting insects. And, we have the technology to do that now in the moment. And I would never think to do that. Like, what do I care what a bee is doing? But then he shows me and explains it to me. And I'm like, wow, this is really interesting. Or he'll explain constellations and things like that, I don't really know that I'm missing. And it's such in a loving way. And it's just like giving me access to the world that I might not even have known was there.
And
So it's
some
not all
wild
awkward,
context
guys.
too. No, but those are not, and it's context that no one else would think to give you. Like you said, he understands the most and understands also what you'd like. Sorry, were you going to say something?
Oh no, I was just about to say you really ask yourself when is a really good time to tell the other person on a date that you have this, that. It always comes on a first date for me, and that kind of just, I don't want to say puts a bad impression on them, but like it really makes them look bad of how they respond to me, and it's off-putting. So I was on a date once, and it was going well. It was like we were having so much fun, and then the question comes, why don't you drive? And then I was honest. I was telling them about my vision and whatever it is, and then he went quiet. It was so awkward afterwards. I was like, what happened? Like, we were having so much fun. And then he's like, well, I don't think I can handle this anymore.
Wow.
It's too stressful for me for what you're going through.
What did he
And I'm
think
like,
you were
oh
going to
my
ask him to be a
God.
chauffeur, like you think, or just in general? I don't need to know all this. What else do I have to do? Because I think right away people go to that, and they're not necessarily that kind of person that's going to line up to advocate for you.
Yes.
Is
And
that
Jenny, you brought up,
not a good test though of who you
it's
want
such a good test. You
around
brought it
you?
up
It is,
as
certainly.
you felt like
Yeah.
your partner was the one because of how he responds, how he is aware about what you have and advocating for you and stuff like that. So I think it's a really good test about that's what I always did after that response. I'm like, this is perfect. Okay, this is what I'm gonna do on dates. Test each one. Yeah, it was funny.
And how they respond.
Yes.
It really makes a difference. It really makes a difference in how they respond.
Have you been in that position, Jennie, that, I mean, I don't know what other story you want to close with, because we go flip side, you know, that awkward, or some of the, like you say, these wonderful things. Any, as we look for with you all the time, low vision moment story, any others besides, you know, oh, what an attractive dog over there. It's a bush. A dead bush.
What's really amazing, and I think it's not just in romantic relationships, but in friendships as well, is when something that I would call advocacy relief. And I think we can probably, many of us, relate to how exhausting it can be just to exist and go about your day and go about your life. You know, you have to ask for additional information. Is the bus stop to my left? Is it on the right? What did you say when you meant over there? You know, just asking for the things we need in day-to-day life, and all the planning, like Ramya was mentioning, like, oh, I had all the boxes checked. I found the good lighting, and I got the lay of the facility, and I know where I'm going. But you know, just to not have to worry about that stuff when it comes up in the moment is really nice. And one example is with my husband, and he'll speak up for me in certain situations, and it's really nice.
That advocacy stuff. Thanks a lot. Wonderful stuff. Jennie Bovard joining us on the program. And we're carrying on with the Valentine's Bouquet up until Valentine's. Nazreen will be back with us tomorrow on the show. Will you check out our podcast, you know, using your podcast platform of choice, and give us a rating and review. On the next program, staying in for Valentine's Day, Rebecca Dingwell brings us her court video game recommendations, folks. Plus, Amy Amante. She has craft ideas for two, ladies and gentlemen. We'll get into those conversations tomorrow on the next edition of Kelly & Company. I'm waving at you.
Thanks for tuning in to Kelly & Company. Follow us on all social media, and don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel for more.